What's up, YouTube? Let's try this again. Last night when I tried making this video response, the stream froze up on me, man. The sound got shut off. I was like, fuck that crap. Although I got my tactical soap a day early, and they included like 5 to 6 extra bars, so I appreciate that. Yes, let's try this again. Suicide, the true cost of lockdown. Let's go. Sydney Watson. All right, first of all, fuck suicide.
Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to the Thunderdome. But before we launch in and do the thing, as per usual, this video is sponsored by Surfshark, as you all expected. And secondly, what you didn't expect is that I now have a tiny doggo who I tried to film this little segment with, but it didn't go so well.
Aww. Aww.
What are you doing?
Side note, Sydney Watson's new puppy is super cute.
Lastly, I'd like you all to know that my friend Elijah Schaefer, who runs the channel Slightly Offensive over at Blaze TV, and I have come together to create our own live daily show. We've been meaning to do it for like absolutely ages, and we're finally at a point where we actually can. And I really like Murph to be the mascot because nothing quite says Elijah and Sydney.
We got
like
audio.
this.
I can see
So
it right
even
there.
though we currently do not have any content on the new channel because we haven't actually officially launched yet, it would mean a lot to me if you guys could go over and subscribe if you are interested in the new show when it does eventually launch. It means a lot to me. Gives me a lot of warm and fuzzies. Now, I wanted to talk about the topic of today's video for a little while, but given YouTube's weird restrictions when it comes to this particular topic.
Yes, YouTube. How are we supposed to have a conversation if you're restricting our speech?
And the discussion of the sniffles in any capacity, I've held off quite a bit. But in saying that, I think it's time, especially watching governments and institutions talk about plunging us in and out of lockdown, especially in Australia, and watching England and Greece and so on have freedom protests. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, freedom protests. Really like the peaceful protests here in the States. Side note, how the fuck are you going to call it a peaceful protest when you're sitting there destroying and vandalizing businesses, people's personal property, their cars, throwing Molotov cocktails at police officers, pointing laser pointers at the cops? Yeah, real peaceful, dude.
I think it's time. So sorry in advance if this video is less funny and humorous than usual. I'm not so sure how to make jokes about self-deletion. So I forgot to film this earlier, but before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video, let's hear from our sponsor, Surfshark. Sydney, what? I'm out of ideas. Out of ideas? Out of ideas for the Surfshark VPN ads. Have you tried arguing with yourself? Going to therapy with yourself? Arguing with a feminist? What else is there? Emotional manipulation. Okay, what does that look like? Find Surfshark or I'll cry. I'm not sure that's a great idea. Find Surfshark because it supports this channel.
Oh, I'm not muted, dude. I can see the green bars right here.
It has a ton of benefits, like letting you bypass country restrictions, which actually came in handy recently for people in Cuba when the government shut off their internet. That is actually true. Surfshark has 12 different Netflix libraries, can be used on
not drinking anything today, man.
Just like
on some water if I get thirsty.
And even has a 30-day money-back guarantee.
Could take a break from drinking every now and
if you don't buy it, I'll cry. All great points. Not so sure about the crying part. Why don't you try telling people that they'll get 83% off and 3 extra?
I'm not drinking anything right now. Taking a couple of days off if I feel like it. At least a day. A day break every now and then from drinking never hurt nobody.
Months free when they sign up using code Sydney. Why would I do that when I can just cry? She is right, you know. Works for me at least when I want to get men fired from their jobs. First and foremost, I want to read you something that I found online the other day. A woman called Mel from an area in Victoria in Australia wrote into one of our major newspapers about her husband. Let me tell you about my husband. The kindest, generous, most selfless man I've ever known. The hardest worker and the most doting father. A jack of all trades who can pick up a new skill with absolute ease. His eagerness to learn more, grow more, and create more. I'm in awe of his intelligence. The way he can turn my bad day into a good one. My negative thoughts.
I am on the stream right now. I can see the audio. It's working just fine. Thank you.
When is his breaking point? Night after night, he spends longer in his garage, tinkering away. What does the hardest worker, the man eager to learn more, do with his time when there is no work? When we are thrown into lockdown time and time again?
Yeah, so basically, King Cobra fam, lockdown has not been easy on everyone. For us less social people who just stay at home and dick around on the computer all day or watch TV or play Netflix or video games, people like us are used to it. Seems like my business is ran from home anyways. I'm used to working and being at home most of the time. But for a lot of people, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Side note, I'm extremely grateful that Cobra Craft Handmade Wands has not been affected by the pandemic. I'll be making some more wands here soon.
Surely this has to affect him too. But he continues to show up every day, no signs of emotion or thoughts on his mind. Tinkering in his garage, and it just takes one snap decision. Now I only have him in my memories and forever in my heart.
Jesse Ryan.
I now know that the media was too much. The lockdowns were too much. The financial strain, too much. The pandemic.
Well, it's the truth. The lockdown was very stressful for a lot of people. They're used to this routine, and now they got to break away from their routine. I don't care if you're autistic or not. Most people don't like breaking away from the norm and breaking their routine, man.
Too much. This letter reminded me of another story that I posted towards the end of 2020 about a 90-year-old woman in a nursing home who chose assisted suicide rather than going through lockdown again. Yes. I honestly just imagine old nursing homes to be sad, sad places where dreams go to die.
That's depending on how you look at it, Sydney. You know what I'm saying? It just really depends on how you look at it. You know what I'm saying? Nursing homes can be quite fun. A lot of old people just want someone to love them, take care of them, and visit with them. You know what I'm saying? It's not too much to ask for. Don't talk to them like they're old. Shout out to the Grondike Soap Company. I'm a proud affiliate. I got my tactical soap a day early. I got it yesterday, and they gave me like 5, 6 extra bars. So I appreciate that. Your boy Cobra is stacked on his Bond soap.
Or where I can befriend it.
And you know what to do. If you want to buy some of that soap, check out the link, description box below. Coupon code King Cobra will get you 15% off your next order.
A 99-year-old war veteran called Alfred who can tell me how to fight the government. Do you want to be on a watch list?
Sydney Watson's sense of humor. I love it.
Let's be real. Probably already am. Nancy Russell, the woman in question, was reported to be very social and spry by her family members, but chose medically assisted death after she declined so sharply during lockdown and didn't want to go through more isolation that winter. She almost overnight went from a very active lifestyle to a very limited life, and they had very early on a complete 2-week confinement just to her room, her daughter said. Residents of this particular nursing home had to eat their meals in their rooms, had activities and social gatherings canceled, family visits were basically eliminated, and sometimes they were in isolation in their...
Considering I've seen Richie Wright drink, I don't want to hear him give me shit about, oh, I'm going to challenge you to a month long with no alcohol. Fuck that. That just sounds miserable.
More rooms for days. I know that some of you will argue that this has good reason, that this is keeping people alive and what have you, but...
This is one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't. Yes, the lockdowns are helping the spread and preventing corona beer. Yeah, I mean, coronavirus. But there are some people who are getting so depressed from lockdown that they're just offing themselves. And nobody wants to talk about lockdown suicide because the pandemic, everyone's dying of something. Either it's COVID or fucking what, you know what I'm saying? Like shit. Nobody wants to talk about it because the lockdowns are supposed to save people from death, not cause them to commit it. Fuck suicide.
I would argue in return that keeping the elderly locked up in their own rooms for multiple hours a day and not letting them see their family is super not okay.
Yeah, no shit. It's the truth. Imagine being like 75 plus, you're in a nursing home, and you're used to an active lifestyle, going out and visiting your fellow neighbors, your fellow seniors, going to the pool on a hot day, going for a swim, you know, playing cards in the card hall with your buddies. You know, now during the lockdown, they couldn't do that. They were pretty much confined to their room. And they can't see their families because they might get their families sick, and then their families might get them sick, and then that's just, yeah, no, it's a complete fucking mess.
Let me tell you all something. It might shock some of you. I'm an introvert. I don't like people. In fact, I avoid them a lot, especially extroverts.
Yeah, no
I don't know
bingo
if you guys
too, for
know
that
this,
matter.
but you don't actually.
Yeah, no bingo for that matter. That's a stereotype of nursing homes. Like, it's bingo night. Yes. They couldn't even have that, dude. I'm not looking forward to getting old, but I accept it.
Actually have to turn on every single light in every room you go into. Anyway, even during early lockdown when I was still living in DC, I personally felt super isolated and very sad and probably depressed. Me, the person who avoids other people. So how do you think these people feel? I read a story in early 2020 of a 13-year-old boy who couldn't handle the isolation and being away from his friends and subsequently took his own life. Another mother is suing the Illinois government over her son's suicide.
Well, when COVID hit, in the beginning, we didn't
suicide,
know
man. It's not
exactly
worth
how
it.
long they were going to be out of school. So week by week.
If you're still in like a lockdown or a pandemic type situation and you're missing your friends, go on FaceTime, bruh. Pick up your phone and be like, bloop, oh, I want to call so-and-so, see how they're doing. Bloop, bloop, FaceTime. Hey, how's the lockdown going for you? Oh, same shit.
Week, I just saw changes in him. He's a teenage boy.
These kids that commit suicide, they have their whole freaking life ahead of them, man. It's just sad as dude.
You know, they need their friends, they need the interaction, they need the socialization. But Trevor, like I said before, had such a wonderful rapport with his teachers, and he was that student in class.
Shout out to Neil, who had a birthday about a week and a half ago. And Cole, thank you for the support. Make this video less depressing. How about some guitar playing?
From that raised his hand, that got the conversations going. Doing that from Zoom, doing that from his bedroom, it was not the same feeling for him. I saw him started to get just, a little depressed.
And if you go on social media, you'll see plenty of articles and stories and research and anecdotes just like this. I have sent more suicidal teens from my office to the ER in the past year than I have in my entire preceding pediatric career of 20 years. If you're reflecting on the victims of COVID today, please remember those like my son Ross, 31, who took his life during lockdown. 5 times more children committed suicide than died of COVID in the first year of UK lockdown. 1 in 10 Australians in Victoria seriously considered suicide during lockdown. 12% used substance abuse to cope. Attempted suicide rates among Victorian teenagers soar by 184% in past 6 months, Kids Helpline reveals. Kids are 10 times more likely to die of suicide than coronavirus, medical professor warns. Suicide attempts among adolescent girls surged by more than 50% during pandemic.
Hashtag fuck suicide.
And even though there's a plethora of articles and research,
no shit. Oops. Anyways,
that suggests there's been an uptick in medical health emergencies. There's some research that contradicts that. Like this one paper, for example, that says it is unlikely that government interventions have been worse than the pandemic itself in most situations. While it's clear that people's mental health suffered during the pandemic, there is strong evidence that lockdowns weren't associated with increased deaths from suicide, according to the authors.
Of course they want to downplay this, because when the pandemic happens, people freak out. Like, what are we supposed to do? Do we have a cure? Well, we don't have a cure, but we got vaccines. Close enough. What are we supposed to do until we get the vaccines? Everyone stay locked up in your house for months at a time. So, of course, the thing you're doing to prevent death is causing people to commit suicide. It's a bit of a, here's the cherry on top of your bullshit cake.
Who you are have a stupid pronouns in bio, so probably. In fact, many other articles that argue that government interventions haven't had an effect on suicide rates reference this paper. So I went and looked it up, and the researchers, and their social media, because I'm a creep. But at least I don't have my pronouns in the bio. Yes, you do.
Sydney Watson's pronouns, Vampire Lord Sydney Watson. Oh my. So if we did an interview with Sydney, Watson, would it be interview with a vampire?
And how often do you use them to refer to me? Never, because you're a bigot. And I'm a zero and a zen. All in all, I felt the study wasn't great. It doesn't reference suicide attempts, which in my opinion still speak to how messed up people are feeling about all of this.
This is kind of one of those conversations where it's like, hey, I don't want to talk about it. Do we have to? Like, okay, if you drink for your depression, even though you're moderate to a little heavy with it, but you don't go overboard, society will wag their finger at you like, oh, you're such an alcoholic. While turning around, and if you're depressed, here, take this anti-goddamn depressant, shove all these pills down your throat, and then bitch because our society has an epidemic opioid problem. Well,
it only looks at suicide deaths. It also looks at overall mortality rates, like how influenza deaths decreased as a result of lockdowns. Also, this part just made me. Where suicide rates have increased, as in Japan, this was not associated with government action, but with large-scale unemployment that occurred well after the government had lifted restrictions and encouraged individuals to return to life largely as normal. Let's play a trivia game.
it can be hard for people to return to normality, as they would call it. No, it's the truth. People are used to being locked up in their house, doing jack shit, scratching their balls, having a wank, watching Netflix all day, every day. And that becomes the norm. All of a sudden, hey, pandemic's over, everyone get back to work. Like, shit. So yes, I'm glad the pandemic's on like kind of the tailspin towards ending. Fingers crossed.
It's called Where Does Large-Scale Unemployment Come From, Friends? Just pulled it out of nowhere. Isn't that amazing? It's just so crazy. And in one of the researcher's own Medium articles, he writes the following. There's abundant evidence that lockdowns are harmful. If nothing else, we know that being socially isolated isn't great for mental health. And there are obvious implications.
Yes, lockdown does have some consequences, but it saves lives. Is it inconvenient that we're all stuck in our houses for months on end? Yes. Is it super inconvenient that you have to wear a fucking face diaper everywhere you go? Yes. But it saves lives, dude.
For the economy. So why'd you help write an entire study that said that wasn't the case? I need to understand pronouns in bio. I'm confused. We've also had governments and politicians and even journalists making similar claims that lockdown measures haven't been nearly as...
G chord. Hold on. It's been a while since I've done the G chord. There we go. Move the fingers around. Do. Fucking hell. Yes, I was trying to do a C chord. Yeah, there we go. Yes.
As damaging as we might think. And government bodies, particularly in Australia, report that until the start of October 2020, suicide rates were largely the same as the year before.
Fuck
So the
suicide.
question becomes, how is there such a huge discrepancy between claims that suicide rates are elevated as a result of lockdowns and claims that they aren't? Well, for starters, I think the mental health picture is about much more than successful suicides. While, like I said, there are accounts like this,
they have been surprised by something else, a sharp rise in suicides.
The numbers that we've seen are sort of unprecedented. We've never seen numbers like this.
This YouTube is honestly quite depressing. These people have their whole lives ahead of them. That's how I get to distract you with the guitar.
Such a short period of time. I mean, we've seen a year's worth of.
Dude, I'm serious. Fuck suicide, man. Whenever I get fucking depressed, guitar is one of the reasons why I don't do it. You know, I want to build my dream house. You know what I'm saying? I got my friends, my family, my fans, and a lot of people who care about me. So it seems kind of pointless to spread my depression onto someone else. You know what I'm saying? Fuck suicide. You only spread that depression around other people. Suicide is a permanent fix to a temporary problem, man, and that's the fucking truth. It's not worth it, dude.
Of suicide attempts in the last 4 weeks.
The trauma team here says they are mostly seeing young adults die by suicide. They are worried about the mounting effects of loneliness and job loss as this quarantine continues.
The social isolation
Comments are making me laugh.
has a price, and I know why we've done it. It just has a bigger price tag than even I thought it would have.
it seems that the people arguing the opposite way may not have taken into consideration the uptick in suicide attempts, people calling suicide hotlines, the anxiety, depression, job loss, family loss associated with lockdowns and quarantine, all of which, going forward, might have long-term effects further down the line that may be exceedingly negative, which may or may not end up in loss of life. I say may or may not because rather than taking a dirt nap, some people might develop
Goth
an
o'clock,
unhealthy
well
obsession
said.
with Norse video games, and then go ahead and buy a dog. Like the letter I read towards the start of this video explains, it's not clear where every individual's breaking point is. I'd argue that after 18 months or so in lockdown, we're going to start to see the fruits of our labor. The fruits of lockdown. The lockdown fruits. Sydney, this topic isn't funny. I know. Then let's take into consideration deaths by substance abuse and alcoholism as the result of lockdown and drug loss. Which is...
Okay, yeah, I get it. Sometimes, like I said earlier, man, you're having a bad day. Drink a couple beers and just tell yourself it's going to be all right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. I totally get drinking alcohol to help with your depression. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're having a bad day, your wife just divorced you and took well over half your shit, and on top of that, it's making you legit pay for child support. And now between her job that she barely works at and the child support you give her from your job, she don't have to get a full-time job. She can just sit on her fucking ass and do nothing while your ass is going to work for her. And you're not even fucking that pussy. Are you serious? The only thing that's getting fucked is your wallet. But losing your job and losing your money to something that's just completely out of your control, like the pandemic. I mean, dude, you know what I'm saying? No disrespect to women. But yeah, I can understand being depressed. Like, you don't know what's in store at the beginning of this pandemic. You're like, your job temporarily laid you off. So your buddies are like, hey, man, fuck this pandemic. Let's go to the bar and have a beer. Oh, wait, the bars are all fucking closed. Okay, what the fuck are you supposed to do? All the liquor stores are fucking closed. So you're sitting there going, shit, man. And then your buddy comes over and says, hey, I stocked up on alcohol before they closed everything. You want a beer? And they're just like, yes. So sometimes having like, I don't know, 1 to 4 beers minimum and just telling telling yourself, it's going to be okay. Just got to tell yourself, man, it's going to be okay. Yes. Still going? Sweet. If you like the video response and the guitar playing, subscribe for more.
Some capacity you could probably argue is, long-term suicide. I don't know. And let me remind you all here that there seems to have always been a...
Life, Sydney Watson, life is a long-term way to kill yourself. Living is just a slow way to commit suicide, man. Fuck suicide, by the way. It's not worth it. I feel like when you get to the other side, they're like, this is what you're going to miss out on because you offed yourself. Guess what? If you would have just held on for a little bit longer, you would have won the lottery. Oh, and it would have been sweet. You would have had, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's just how it is. And on top of that, you get to watch how your shit affects everyone else's shit. Fuck suicide, man.
Correlation between unemployment and alcoholism. So let's take drug abuse, for example. To put this in perspective, a 2017 paper found that for every 1% rise in unemployment, there is a 3.6% increase in opioid deaths per 100,000 people. In April of 2020, the unemployment rate...
Okay, yeah, if you're unemployed, the last thing you want to do is drink and do drugs. That's just going to make... I'm sorry, but unless you're a responsible motherfucker who doesn't do stupid shit when they're high or drunk, you're one of the responsible people of that scene and what have you, those scenes, that's different. But if you're an idiot when you get drunk or do drugs, you shouldn't be doing them, period. I don't think drugs and alcohol are necessarily the problem. I think the problem is people. That may sound controversial as fuck, but I don't care, man. Because there are plenty of stoners in our society that smoke weed and they still function. But if you're one of those people that can't function when you smoke pot, And save that shit for when all your shit's done. You know what I'm saying? It's about taking personal responsibility.
Here in the U.S.
Because there are plenty of people that they drink, they have a good time. And fucking, yeah, dude. They're chill, they turn into a smart ass, they don't cause trouble. They get to that point where they stumble a little bit, and then their friends are like, okay, well, you've had enough. Just chill out for a second. And then they do the whole, I could go for another one, and then they drink another one, and then then they pass out where they're sitting. Yeah. But then there are a couple of drunks who get drunk and beat their fucking wife, and that's the kind of crap that gives alcohol a bad name. And it's no different with any other substance, really. I'm not saying you should do drugs. I'm just saying. Okay? You're taking medication for your depression, but your depression meds may cause drowsiness. I'm just saying. Fuck you, asshole. You shouldn't do that to your wife. Thank you, GMT, for plugging the PayPal. I appreciate it. Yes, suicide is like a fart. It stinks and it affects everyone. Amen to that. My neighbors are actually pretty chill with me, to believe it or not. Oh, the sound's still working. I'm watching this.
It was 14.8% before lockdown had even been super prolonged. That's a 40% increase in potential opioid deaths per 100,000 people. I literally can't say opioid. I don't know why this is so hard. Oh my goodness. As of February 2021, 4 in 10 unemployed workers have been out of work for more than 6 months. I'd argue that we would be seeing way more negative lockdown side effects at the start of 2021. And honestly, based on what I've read, through researching for this video, it basically seems like that's the case. People have just had longer to suffer. And this correlates to other research that tells us being unemployed increases your risk of suicide by 2 or 3-fold. I also think it's worth noting that lockdowns didn't start in many countries until around March. And at that point, I think a lot of people were quite willing to play ball.
Do I like G.I. Joe? Yeah, that's a good series. I'm a fan of the villains in that show, Cobra. That's pretty obvious.
Saw it as an opportunity to get off of work and didn't take it quite as seriously as they might do now. However, data from a survey that spoke to 1,000 Victorians in September of 2020 still reported that 1 in 10 of those Victorians reported to have seriously considered suicide in the prior 30 days. Furthermore, 1 in 5 Victorians experienced suicidal thoughts during lockdown, while 1/3 say they suffered anxiety or depressive disorder symptoms. The same study also reports that over 12% of Victorians started abusing substances in order to cope with the pandemic. On a personal front, a friend of mine who's been sober for about a decade, who sponsors other people who are coping with substance abuse and alcoholism, told me that lockdowns have been so detrimental to so many people's sobriety that he can't even believe the blowback that he's seeing. Sobriety is hard enough when you are showing up to meetings, but it's even harder when you're alone. all the time. I also want to note that there is a lot of research that says that children are actually the ones taking their lives at a much higher rate than adults. And like I
Mike
said,
is
much
still
of this has been
going.
recorded in 2021, which supports my earlier point. Suicides in the Golden State last year jumped by 24% for Californians under 18, but fell by 11% for adults, showing how children are uniquely affected by profound social isolation and loss of essential support systems traditionally provided by in-person school. Researchers for the CDC found that the rate at which girls ages 12 through 17 in particular
Thank you,
were
Museum
visiting the
Privilege, for
emergency
plugging the
department
PayPal.
for suicide attempts between February and March of 2021 increased nearly 51%
It's not muted. I'm watching the stream
compared to
as
the
we do
same
this.
period in 2019. This kind of account is confirmed by several suicide hotlines across the world, but this information comes specifically from Australia and from a Kids Helpline. Disturbing new data from Kids Helpline revealed the shocking statistic after Victoria was plunged into its fourth major COVID-19 lockdown in the past 12 months. 44% of Victorian emergency interventions from December 1, 2020 to May 31st, 2021 were responding to a young person's immediate intent to suicide, while child abuse emergencies triggered 31%.
It was barely a month ago that Dylan Buckner took his own life.
Whatever stereotypes people might have about kids that commit suicide, however it's portrayed in TV or movies, was just not our experience with Dylan at all. It was a very silent, very invisible killer that didn't come to our attention until he made his first suicide attempt in September.
And the family says school closures due to the pandemic played a part.
I learned after his first suicide attempt.
No, I don't really need beer. Beer always sounds good, but I don't need it. Worst memory from childhood. That would be fourth grade, to be honest. The first girl I crushed on when I was in fourth grade rejected me because she was a grade higher. And she didn't let me down gently. She just flat out called me a loser and made fun of me along with pretty much every kid in my class. Yeah, it's pretty sad when your dad has to walk into your classroom and be like, okay, so my son has autism and y'all are being jack-offs. He didn't say it, like that, but yeah. He went in there and right when I was starting to get along with all my classmates, I moved from South Lake Tahoe, California to Valley City, North Dakota. Now, all the assholes who made fun of me in elementary and high school, all the chicks who rejected me growing up, it's funny how that works out, isn't it? The kid who gets bullied ends up becoming a famous YouTuber. Huh. Yeah, this topic is quite sad, to be honest. I don't like talking about this shit on my channel, dude. We need to have this conversation.
Well, his depression predates COVID. There really is no doubt in my mind that the lockdowns, the isolation, the lack of in-person schooling, the lack of in-person interaction with his friends, the lack of football absolutely contributed to his death.
Across America, the debate over whether it's safe to reopen schools now can't avoid what experts say is a mental health crisis. A rising number of suicides in some places, cries for help everywhere.
I think one thing we can all agree on is how detrimental this has been for kids.
We started to see students started to really show up with signs of depression differently than they had before. Everything from not being able to take care of themselves to just not getting out of bed, doing school from their bed, and then not engaging in the class at all. Whether you're 5 years old or 17, this developmental phase is happening. So we have seen this before when students have trauma in their lives and have a trauma history in their lives. There are times where that developmental process can be slowed and impacted. If I could predict the future, that for the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see students come through that have picked up trauma history around this that are continued need special support.
This is just sad. I'm reading the comments while I'm listening to Sydney Watson do her video. Yeah, so take it from my book, man. If you're getting bullied in school, fuck them. Just ignore them and push through it the best you can. And you know what I'm saying? Get out of high school, graduate. College is not required. Although it'll help with the job and getting a more expensive, a more well-paid job. Oh, come on, there it goes. Okay, if you go to college, yeah, your job opportunities will increase. You'll get a higher paying job than if you just have a high school diploma, but don't freeze up on me. Yeah, okay, we're good.
Or here in school.
And most doctors and even a lot of research agrees that the way that we've been treating kids over the last 18 months in relation to social isolation has pushed a lot of them over the edge. In my personal opinion, what we've done to kids is so unbelievable. And if I was a parent, I would be really mad. Parents, I don't know how you're not really mad. If I had a pudding person or a kind of like half-grown potato creature, I'd be really mad. I guess the thing is that I don't really care how many people are committing suicide because of lockdown. I care because it's happening at all. And
I agree, Sydney. It's not how many people are killing themselves. It's the fact that it's happening in the first place, man. Fuck suicide. Yeah, chat's on. I would LES, but I don't want copyright infringement.
it makes me really angry that anyone would try to downplay lockdown-related suicide. The fact that it's even happening.
They're downplaying it because it's an awkward conversation, YouTube. Like, everyone's already depressed because we're in the middle of a fucking pandemic. There's rioting. People are fighting over hand sanitizer and toilet paper. It's just, the whole thing's been fucking nuts. Yeah. Very sloppy for release.
At all, in any capacity, should make people's alarm bells go off. I feel like through all of this, we've lost our ability to be compassionate and to act like humans. You hear people say all the time that if lockdown saves one life, then it was worth it. Well, what about all the lives it takes? Why are they somehow less valuable? I mean, imagine.
It's not that they're less valuable, it's just that fucking nobody wants to have this conversation, Sydney. Because the lockdowns are supposed to save us, not make it worse.
Feeling so alone that you would rather go down the road of medically assisted suicide or tinkering away in your garage until you finally get to a point where it's all too much, or being a 13-year-old child with your entire life ahead of you and taking that life instead. Why do these stories matter less? If you've been here for any length of time, you will know.
Because it's a very uncomfortable topic, Sydney. It's not that they don't matter less. It's just that people don't want to have this conversation. You're aware of this, Sydney. I know you are. If you watch my channel and the topics you've covered on your various videos, there are a lot of those, do we have to have this conversation kind of topics? And it's just like, no, I don't want to.
know that when I make these videos, I do try to be as impartial as possible and give you all sides of the argument. But when it comes to this particular discussion, I do find it hard to stay impartial and to not get angry. As far as lockdown goes, I know for a fact that it's had negative consequences on so many people and even people around me. And I believe that government is incredibly remiss for ignoring these consequences, especially when and if it results in loss of life, especially when that loss of life is children. I don't have anything particularly positive to add here at the end, besides saying that
it's like the government doesn't ignore it. They acknowledge it exists, but what are they supposed to do about it? You know what I'm saying? Create a vaccine, help us get back to work and school safely. That's all they can do. The government doesn't control everything you do. The government cannot control whether or not you off yourself. That's on you, man. So like, what are they supposed to do? Be like, go on TV and be like, hey, go on YouTube and be like, hey, you over there with the suicidal thoughts, knock it the fuck off. You know what I'm saying? Ask yourself, it could be worse. Imagine being a freaking 85-year-old man going on 90 and you just lost your fucking wife. You've been married to her for like 60, 70 plus years. You've been married a real long time to your wife, and then she dies before you do. And sitting next to him is the same fucking dude who's bitching because his ex-wife fucking took everything from him, who really has it bad. It's the guitar playing in this video, though.
If you are someone who finds yourself in a position where you feel very alone, you feel like life is not worth living, etc., reach out to the people around you and reach out to, even these helplines and things, because that's what they're there for.
No shit, Sydney. Preach it, girl. Yes, if you're feeling like that, then reach out to people that care about you. Reach out to the helplines and shit. Fuck suicide, dude. It's just not worth it,
As corny as all of this sounds, I don't really want to see any more people dying because of, bad government policy. Suicide.
It's not bad government policy, Sydney Watson. No offense. But lockdown has proven to help the spread of coronavirus. It's just depression. Plain and simple. It's not bad government policy. It's just what are you supposed to do? Yeah, the mask thing, it sucks balls. Having to stay inside for most of the months. Yeah, it sucks balls. All the pools and the movie theaters, all the fun shit you would normally do during the summer months. Nope. Canceled. No, it sucks because a lot of people like going to the fair and shit. Nope. All that's canceled because of the coronavirus.
Suicide is in fact the result of bad government policy and even worse enforcement. And for that,
It's not trying to be an ass kiss to the government, but they're enforcing that regulation because they're trying to prevent the spread. And how do diseases spread? Okay? How does a common cold spread? Through other people. That's why when you get the cold or when you get the flu, you fucking stay home and you sweat it out and get it out of your system before you go back to work or back to school so you don't spread it to other people. It's the same thing with the goddamn coronavirus. So even if you don't have it, they still make you do it anyways just to be extra cautious. Now, even though the coronavirus has a very, very high survival rate, a lot of people have died as a result of COVID.
I'm so sorry. So on that note, before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder that you can download Surfshark VPN using the link in the description. When you do, you'll receive 3 extra months free. And also, if you're interested, don't forget to subscribe to a lot.
Yeah, thunderstorm. Holy shit, that made me jump out of my skin. Hold up. Ah, yes, we have a thunderstorm in progress. My bad. That shit lit up the whole fucking stream, and I was like, whoa! Kaboom, baby!
Aja and my new channel for our new
Yeah, the You Are Here channel. I already subscribed to that, Sydney. You're welcome.
show. The link is also in the description, and that would really mean a lot to me and my tiny dog called Murphy. Now I open the floor.
Yeah, your dog Murphy's super cute, by the way. Does your dog Murphy tell jokes? Eddie Murphy reference. Anyone? Anyone? Haunted Mansion? Okay.
To all of you, what do you all think? Do you believe that suicide is being caused by lockdown, that it's being exacerbated by lockdown? Do you think that...
I don't think lockdown is entirely causing it. I think the depression from being locked down is causing it. I don't think lockdown necessarily or the government's causing it, man. I just think people are depressed because they miss hanging out with their friends, going to the bars, going to the movies. Coming this fall to a theater near you. Hey, that's a really good impression of that one guy. Rated R. In theaters July 18th. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. But if you're depressed because of COVID or because of lockdown, reach out to your relatives, reach out to your family, reach out to the hotlines, and fuck suicide, man. It's just not worth it.
That's not happening at all, that it's all made up, that a lot of these numbers aren't supported by actual data. And what do you generally make of...
I don't care about the data. The facts are the facts. People are depressed because of the pandemic. Our country's broke because of the pandemic. Be a great time to legalize pot. Senator Joe Biden. Now, I've been hearing since Barack Obama that, oh yeah, we're going to legalize pot. Okay, so you vote for the fucker because, you know what I'm saying, and what happens? They don't do it. You know, Mr. President, cannabis could have helped save your son's life. It's very unfortunate, but Joe Biden's son died of brain cancer, and Jesus Christ, I can't, dude, that's fucking horrible, dude. I cannot, dude, I feel so bad for that guy, dude. People, we're in the economy's tanked because we've been out of fucking jobs for the last fucking year and a half. People are depressed and committing suicide because they're in fucking lockdown. People are rioting in the streets, throwing Molotov cocktails and breaking windows and breaking businesses and cars. All of that shit would just fucking stop if we legalized cannabis for recreational and medical use. And the kicker of it is, okay, the government loves money. And if Colorado makes $1 billion a year off of cannabis, and there are 50 states in this beautiful, good old US of A country of ours, then that's $50 billion. $50 billion. It's simple math. Amen, GMT.
Lockdown and this issue overall.
I think the whole thing is fucking stupid. The coronavirus, fucking stupid. The pandemic, fucking stupid.
As always, if you'd like to...
Lockdown, fucking stupid. All these measures, though, are to supposedly keep you safe. Okay.
the video, hit subscribe and the thumbs up button. If you want to leave a comment, feel free to do so. Just be respectful about it. And I will see you guys next time.
All right, Sadie, I'll catch you next time. Thanks for doing your videos. All right, so we'll see if anyone donated to the PayPal. If you did, you'll get a shout out. Getting ready to end the stream here because I need to smoke and I gotta take a piss. So yeah, just log in the old PayPal. And nope, that's all right. You don't have to donate your time or your money, but I appreciate either one. And you know what I'm saying? Oof, an hour long. Holy shit. Nope. You don't have to donate your money. Just tuning into the stream's enough. But thanks for checking out the channel. The merch will catch you later. Subscribe for more.